I was the odd one out from the start, the third wheel in a triplet set that looked perfect on paper. Alex, Ben, and me, Calvin, born minutes apart in a dusty Kansas hospital on a sweltering July night in 1999. Our mom used to say we were her miracles, three boys who came into the world screaming in unison, fists raised like we owned the damn planet. Dad, a stern Baptist deacon with calloused hands from preaching fire and brimstone, saw us as his legacy. Future missionaries, husbands to good Christian women, fathers to a brood that'd fill the pews. We grew up in a split-level ranch house on the edge of Wichita, where the prairie stretched out flat and unforgiving, mirroring the rules that boxed us in. Summers meant vacation Bible school. Winters meant shoveling snow for the elderly widows down the block. Alex was the golden boy, quarterback material even at 10, always quoting scripture to win arguments. Ben was the quiet fixer, the one who'd patch up our bikes and our egos with equal parts duct tape and dad jokes. And me? I was the dreamer, the one sketching wild landscapes in the margins of my homework, wondering what lay beyond the endless wheat fields. We were inseparable back then, the triplet tornadoes, tearing through little league fields and county fairs like we were invincible. But puberty hit like a freight train, and suddenly the mirror showed cracks I couldn't hide. At 14, while Alex was sneaking peeks at cheerleaders and Ben was building model airplanes, I found myself staring too long at the lithe form of Tommy Hargrove, the new kid from California with sun-bleached hair and a laugh that cut through the humid air like a cool breeze. It wasn't just curiosity. It was a pull, deep in my gut, like gravity shifting under my feet. I buried it under layers of prayer meetings and forced grins. But the dreams came anyway. Vivid, guilty flashes that left me waking in cold sweats, whispering apologies to a ceiling fan that spun like judgmental eyes. High school in Wichita was a pressure cooker of conformity. Our town was the kind where pickup trucks ruled the roads and family values was shorthand for don't ask, don't tell. Dad ramped up the sermons at home, his Bible thumping the kitchen table like a gavel. "The wages of sin are death, boys," he'd growl, eyes lingering on me a beat too long after I dodged another church youth group mixer. Alex thrived, landing a scholarship to Kansas State for football. Ben followed, majoring in engineering because it was practical. Me? I clawed my way into the art program at the local community college, lying to myself that a graphic design degree would make me useful enough to stay in the fold. But the lie cracked wide open sophomore year when I met Nathaniel. It was a crisp October afternoon in 2019, the leaves turning gold like they were auditioning for some Norman Rockwell painting. I was killing time in the student union, sketching the chaos of coffee spills and crumpled flyers, when he slid into the seat across from me. Nathaniel Hayes, tall, with that effortless cool of someone who'd grown up in cities that didn't roll up the sidewalks at 9. His dark curls fell over hazel eyes that sparkled with mischief, and his smile? God, it was the kind that made the room feel less like a fluorescent-lit purgatory and more like a secret worth keeping. "That's killer," he said, nodding at my notebook. "You capturing the soul of this place or just mocking it?" His voice had that faint East Coast lilt. New York, I learned later, smooth as bourbon, warm enough to thaw the frost I'd built around myself. We talked for hours that day, about everything and nothing. How he transferred from NYU after his folks split, chasing cheaper tuition and a fresh start. How I dreamed of trading wheat fields for skyscrapers but feared I'd wilt in the concrete jungle. He was studying film, full of stories about indie shoots in Brooklyn lofts and festivals that ran on passion and Red Bull. By the time the union closed, we'd swapped numbers, and I walked home with my sketchbook clutched like a shield, heart pounding harder than it had during any of Dad's hellfire rants. Nathaniel became my escape hatch. We'd meet in hidden corners, the overgrown lot behind the campus library, where wildflowers pushed through chain-link fences like they were flipping off the world, or the dive bar on the edge of town that didn't card too closely. He'd show me clips from his short films, grainy tales of lost boys finding their way, and I'd spill ink on paper, drawing scenes from his scripts that felt ripped from my own unspoken life. There was a charge between us, electric and terrifying, like static before a storm. One night, under a sky bloated with stars, he leaned in during a screening of Moonlight at the campus theater, his breath warm against my ear. You ever feel like you're living someone else's story, Cal? I nodded, throat tight, and when his fingers brushed mine in the dark, I didn't pull away. But secrets in a town like Wichita. They're landmines with hair trigger fuses. Alex came home for Thanksgiving that year, all broad shoulders and fiancé glow. Sarah, a sweet sorority girl from Topeka who baked pies that could convert atheists. Ben tagged along, his new toolkit gleaming like a badge of normalcy. Dinner was the usual tableau. Turkey carved with surgical precision. Grace said over hands clasped too tight. Dad dominated the talk, railing about the decay in our cities. His fork stabbing potatoes like they were sinners. I forced laughs, past the cranberry sauce, but my mind was in Brooklyn, replaying Nathaniel's latest text. Miss your sketches already. When's escape day? It detonated after pie, in the den where the Christmas tree twinkled prematurely, mocking the warmth it pretended to bring. I'd slipped out to the porch for air, phone in hand, when Alex followed. He was buzzed on Uncle Ray's eggnog, eyes glassy with that righteous haze. Who's the guy, Cal? Saw you grinning like an idiot at your phone all night. I froze, the cold biting through my sweater. Just a friend from school, I muttered, but he snatched the phone. Reflex from years of roughhousing, and scrolled. Nathaniel's face filled the screen. Mid-laugh from our last hike, arms slung casual around my shoulders. The shout that followed could have woken the neighbors 3 blocks over. Dad burst out first, Bible in hand like a weapon. Mom trailed, wringing her apron, eyes wide with the fear of scandal. Ben hung back, face pale as fresh snow. Faggot, Alex hissed, the word landing like a slap. In our house? With our name. Dad's voice boomed scripture, Leviticus, Romans, each verse a nail in the coffin of the boy I'd pretended to be. Mom wept silent tears, begging me to pray it away. As if love were a demon you could exorcise with enough Hail Marys. I stood there, rain starting to spit from the eaves, tasting salt on my lips. Mine or theirs, I couldn't tell. They didn't throw me out that night. Small mercies in the eye of the hurricane. But the next morning, over cold coffee and averted eyes, Dad laid down the law. Repent, see the church counselor, or pack my bags. You're killing your mother, he said, voice cracking for the first time, and that hurt worse than the slurs. Alex nodded like a bobblehead, already texting Sarah about family crisis. Ben. He just stared at his mug, steam curling up like unspoken apologies. I chose the bags. By noon, I was in my beat-up Civic, duffel stuffed with clothes and sketch pads, heading east on I-70 with $200 in my wallet and Nathaniel's voice on speaker. I'm here, Cal. Drive like hell. Pittsburgh was the pit stop, a gray smear of steel bridges and river mist where I crashed on Nathaniel's cousin's couch for a week, nursing bruises that went soul deep. He drove up from his internship in Philly, 12 hours straight, showing up with takeout pierogies and a playlist of Springsteen anthems that made the Rust Belt skyline feel like home. We didn't talk much about Wichita. Instead, we walked the Allegheny trails at dawn, his hand finding mine on root-tangled paths, fingers lacing like they'd always known the way. You're not broken, he whispered one foggy morning, as we watched barges slice the water. You're just you. And that's the plot twist they weren't ready for. But family doesn't sever clean. It festers. Christmas cards came, and signed, with tracks on choosing righteousness, tucked inside like poisoned apples. Alex's wedding invite arrived in February, elegant script hiding the subtext. Come alone, or not at all. Ben called once, voice thick. Miss you, man, but Dad's. You know. I hung up before the excuses could pile higher than the hurt. Nathaniel pulled me through with his quiet strength. Nights editing his thesis film on my laptop, where I designed title cards of fractured mirrors reflecting whole hearts. By spring, we'd pooled our savings for a sublet in Brooklyn. A walk-up in bed-stewie with peeling wallpaper and a fire escape that rattled like wind chimes in the wind. It smelled of curry from the neighbors and possibility, and for the first time, I breathed without apology. New York hit like a fever dream. Subways rattled us to auditions and galleries. Nathaniel's short echoes in the alley screened at Tribeca, earning whispers of raw and revolutionary. I freelanced logos for queer nonprofits. My lines bolder now, curving with the pride I'd starved for years. We built a rhythm. Coffee runs to that hole in the wall on Nostrand, where the barista knew our orders. Black for him, oat milk latte for me. Lazy Sundays sketching his profile as he scripted, light slanting through blinds like gold leaf. Love bloomed slow, then all at once. A kiss on the rooftop after his film's rap party. City lights sprawling below like a promise. His lips tasted of cheap champagne and forever. And in that moment, with horns blaring and sirens wailing, I felt whole. But shadows from the heartland crept east. Summer brought Ben's email. Dad's sick. Cancer. Come home. The words blurred on my screen, guilt twisting like a knife. Nathaniel held me as I paced our tiny kitchen, pros and cons spilling out in frantic lists. You don't owe them this, he said, but his eyes pleaded understanding. I went anyway. Flew into Wichita on wings of dread, landing in a town that hadn't changed, all flat horizons and fundamentalist flags waving from porches. The house sagged under grief. Mom's face was gaunt, Dad's frame shrunken in his recliner, oxygen tank hissing like accusation. Reunion was a minefield. Alex greeted me stiffly at the door, Sarah hovering with a casserole that tasted of obligation. Ben hugged quick, then pulled away, mumbling about hospital shifts. Dad's eyes met mine over the dinner table, faded blue, rimmed with yellow. Heard you're shacking up? He rasped, the word laced with venom. I nodded, chin up. Nathaniel. He's good to me, Dad. Real good. Silence stretched, broken only by the tick of the mantel clock. Then softer. Proud of your brothers. Wish I could say the same. It landed like fallout, radioactive and slow-burning. The betrayal came swift 2 nights in. Ben cornered me in the garage, amid Dad's dusty tools, voice low and urgent. Alex wants you gone after the funeral. Says you're a bad influence, scaring Sarah about the kids. I laughed bitter, the sound echoing off oil-stained concrete. And you? What's your line, Ben? The silent partner in this exile. He flinched, but his eyes hardened. Family first, Cal. Always has been. Turns out he'd been the one feeding Alex updates. Scraps from my socials, Nathaniel's tags. Fuel for their witch hunt. The fixer, breaking what he couldn't mend. I fled to the old oak behind the house, the one we'd carved our initials into as kids, bark scarred like my chest. Rain started then, a deluge that turned earth to mud, and I sank against the trunk, sobs racking me until my ribs ached. That's when my phone buzzed. Nathaniel, video call, his face pixelated but steady. Talk to me, he said, and I did, words tumbling like the downpour. The slights, the slurs, Ben's knife twist. He listened, then, come back. We're your family now. But the storm swelled, thunder cracking like judgment, and in a haze of hurt, I confessed the fear I'd buried. The what if that Dad's poison had planted. What if I'm not enough? He drove through the night, crossing state lines with coffee stains on his hoodie, arriving at dawn as I huddled in a motel off the interstate, neon sign flickering vacancy like a cruel joke. We didn't speak at first. He just wrapped me in his coat, smelling of diesel and devotion, and we sat on the sagging bed, watching the sun bleed orange over cornfields. You're enough, he murmured finally, hand on my knee, steady as an anchor. More than. And if they can't see it, that's their tragedy. We left that afternoon, my Civic trailing his rental back to the city, the Midwest shrinking in the rearview like a bad dream. Dad died in August, lungs giving out under chemo's weight. I didn't go to the funeral. Couldn't, not with Alex's texts barring the door. Keep your lifestyle away from Mom. Ben sent ashes in a plain box, no note. Grief hit sideways in waves. Anger at the man who'd shaped me with iron and scripture. Sorrow for the boy who'd worshipped him. Nathaniel grieved with me. Silent vigils on the fire escape, where we toast with cheap beer to the fighter who taught you to stand. My art poured out then. Canvases of fractured triptychs, 3 faces merging into one defiant gaze, shone in a Bushwick gallery that buzzed with queer voices and validation. Fall brought turning points. Alex reached out via Ben's burner account. Desperate, post-divorce, Sarah fled with the baby after his temper boiled over. Need to talk? The message read, and against Nathaniel's wary nod. I met him in a neutral diner off I-35, fluorescent hum underscoring the awkwardness. He looked wrecked, stubble shadowing hollow cheeks, wedding ring gone. I was wrong, he admitted, voice cracking over cooling coffee. Dad's hate. They ate me alive. Seeing you with him, Nathaniel, it woke something. Not forgiveness. Not yet, but a crack in the armor. A triplets bond fraying but not fully snapped. Ben came last. Thanksgiving Eve, suitcase in hand, standing on our stoop with snow dusting his coat. Lost my job. Lost everything chasing practical. His eyes, mirror to mine, held regret's weight. You were right, Cal. Family's not blood, it's choice. Nathaniel cooked that night. Turkey with all the fixings, plus vegan sides for the strays we'd fed over the years. Queer kids from the center downtown, artists scraping by. Around our mismatched table, stories flowed. Ben's engineering dreams deferred. Alex's tentative therapy notes. My sketches pinned like flags of surrender. Laughter crept in, tentative as dawn. And when Nathaniel's hand found mine under the cloth, no one flinched. Winter sealed it. We scattered Dad's ashes, not in the family plot, but at the oak tree, the three of us standing circle under January's bite, wind whispering absolution. To real family, Alex said, voice rough, and we echoed it, voices blending like they had in the womb. Back in Brooklyn, Nathaniel and I planned our own vows, not church but city hall, with rooftop toasts to the skyline that had witnessed our becoming. Ben crashed on our couch, job hunting with my portfolio intros. Alex visited monthly, baby photos exchanged like olive branches. Strength isn't in never breaking. It's in the mending, the choosing to rebuild from shards. I learned that not from sermons or blood ties, but from a man who drove through storms for me, from brothers who stumbled back to the light. In the end, family isn't the echo of rejection. It's the chorus of those who stay, singing your name like it's holy. The gallery opening was a blur of clinking glasses and murmured critiques, but I clung to Nathaniel's arm like a lifeline, his tuxedo sleeve brushing my wrist in silent reassurance. It was March 2022, our first joint show. His film looping on a massive screen, my animations pulsing in sync, a love letter to fractured identities stitched whole. The crowd was eclectic. Drag queens in sequins, critics with notepads, a senator's aide who'd slipped in for research. Whispers followed us, the triplet artist and his director. But tonight, they felt like applause, not arrows. Ben had flown in for it, his first time in the city since the ashes. He hovered by the cheese board, awkward in khakis amid the glitter. But his grin when a curator praised my work? Pure triplet mischief, the kind we'd shared stealing Dad's cigars as teens. Knew you'd make it, Cal, he said later, clinking his plastic cup to mine. Always the one with the fire. Alex sent a card, stiff stationery, but inside, proud. Bring the kid next time. Progress, inch by inch, like thawing permafrost. Life in Bed-Stuy settled into a groove that felt dangerously like happiness. Mornings started with Nathaniel's coffee ritual, grounds measured with theatrical precision, while I sketched from the window, capturing the bodega cat's disdainful stare or the old woman's ritual shuffle to church. He'd read lines from his next script over breakfast, hazel eyes alight, and I'd improvise visuals. A chase through Central Park rendered in stark charcoal, lovers parting on subway platforms in watercolor washes. Afternoons bled into freelance hustles. Me tweaking logos for a Harlem queer youth org. Him pitching pilots to streamers who promised diverse voices, but delivered development hell. Evenings were ours. We'd wander the promenade along the East River, skyline twinkling like a rival city flirting across the water, hands swinging loose between us. Remember Pittsburgh? He'd ask sometimes, voice soft against the ferry horns. I'd nod, pulling him closer. Best detour ever. Sex wasn't the firestorm of movies. It was tender maps redrawn in the dark, bodies learning each other's languages without shame. But it was the quiet that bound us. Him editing at 3 a.m., me dozing on the couch with pencils scattered like fallen stars. Cracks showed in summer, subtle as hairline fractures. Nathaniel's big break landed. A Sundance invite for Echoes, full funding for the feature follow-up. "This is it, Cal?" he said, spinning me in our kitchen till the spices rattled. But the glow dimmed with the calls. Producers demanding marketable tweaks, sidelining the queer heart for broader appeal. "They want less us, more them," he confessed one night, pacing the fire escape, cigarette forgotten between his fingers. I wrapped arms around him from behind, chin on his shoulder. "Then make it ours anyway. You're the storyteller. Nat, twist the plot." My own doubts simmered. A commission came from a conservative brand, ironic, given my portfolio, but the pay could cover Ben's community college tuition back home. I took it, grinding through sanitized designs that choked my style, each deadline a reminder of Wichita's ghost. Ben noticed during his visit, sprawled on our futon with takeout lo mein. "You look tired, bro, like you're fighting shadows." I shrugged it off, but his words lingered, a triplet's intuition sharper than any therapist's probe. The real storm brewed in September, when Alex called, not text, but voice, raw and ragged. "The baby's sick, Cal. Leukemia. Sarah's a wreck. I can't." He trailed off, sobs breaking through the line like static. I booked the flight that night, Nathaniel insisting on coming, his hand steady on the wheel to JFK. "We're in this," he said, and damn if that didn't make the heartland loom less like a monster. Wichita hadn't softened. If anything, the prairies seemed sharper, winds whipping dust devils that mirrored my inner churn. Alex met us at the airport, hollow-eyed, clutching a toddler's stuffed bear like talisman. The hospital was a sterile maze of beeps and bleach, little Emma, barely 2, pale and tethered to IVs that dwarfed her frame. Sarah hugged me fierce in the hallway, whispering, "Thank you for coming," her faith-ringed hand trembling on mine. No sermons, just shared silence by the crib, watching her chest rise and fall in fragile rhythm. Nights blurred in the Ronald McDonald house, cots creaking under exhausted bodies. Nathaniel bonded with the other parents over vending machine coffee, his film stories a brief escape from the vigil. Alex and I really talked, for the first time since boys. "I pushed you away to feel strong," he admitted, staring at the linoleum like it held answers. "But losing Dad, now this. Strength's bullshit without you." Ben drove up weekends, his toolkit now stocked with kid distractions. Wooden trains he carved, puzzles that clicked like hope. Emma's chemo rounds were battles, each one carving deeper into us. One dawn, as rain lashed the windows, she seized, tiny body arching, alarms shrieking. We rushed in, a frantic huddle, doctors swarming like white-coated locusts. I held Alex back as he lunged, Nathaniel murmuring prayers he'd learned from me, Ben white-knuckling the bedrail. She stabilized, but the scare lingered, a reminder of fragility's razor edge. In the aftermath, betrayal's echo surfaced. Not Ben's old leak, but fresher. Alex confessed he'd outed me to the church elders years back, trading my secret for Dad's approval during a deacon vote. "Thought it'd make me worthy," he choked out, face buried in hands. Rage flared hot, but grief tempered it. I gripped his shoulder, voice steady. "Worthy's earned, not bartered. But we're here now." Forgiveness wasn't absolution. It was truce, a bridge rebuilt plank by plank. Nathaniel saw me through the fallout, his presence a ballast. One night, post-round, we slipped out to the hospital roof. Unauthorized, but the security guard waved us up with a wink. Stars pierced the overcast, faint but fierce, and he pulled a thermos of spiked hot chocolate from his jacket. "To surviving," he toasted, lips brushing mine in the chill. Down below, the city pulsed oblivious, but up there, with his heartbeat sinking mine, the world narrowed to us. Two souls who'd chosen each other amid the wreckage. Emma turned the corner by Halloween, scans showing remission's glow. We celebrated subdued. Pumpkin pie in the family lounge, her giggles weak but wondrous as she mashed candy corn. Alex teared up, pulling me into a bear hug that smelled of stale coffee and relief. Don't be a stranger, yeah? I nodded, throat tight. Back in Brooklyn, the skyline welcomed us like old friends, but the trip had shifted something. Roots didn't have to choke. They could nourish, if pruned right. Winter wrapped us in routine's comfort, but ambition stirred. Nathaniel's rewrite of Echoes, queer core intact, greenlit by a boutique studio, shooting slated for spring in the Catskills. My gallery rep pitched a solo show, Triptychs of Return, blending family portraits with urban abstracts, scars visible in every stroke. Ben landed an apprenticeship in Queens, crashing with us till his own place. His laughter filled the apartment, a bridge between past and present. Yet doubt whispered in quiet hours. One February evening, as snow blanketed the stoop, Nathaniel came home late, script pages crumpled in his fist. They want reshoots. Tone down the kiss, add a redemption arc for the dad. His voice cracked, hazel eyes stormy. I drew him to the couch, thumbs tracing his knuckles. Fight it, or walk. You're not selling your soul for Sundance stars. We talked till dawn, words weaving a net against the pull of compromise. The climax crashed in April, rehearsals clashing with my show's prep. Tempers frayed, me snapping over spilled paint, him retreating into edits that isolated. A fight erupted over dinner. Takeout tie gone cold, accusations flying. You're burying yourself in family ghosts, he yelled, gesturing at my sketches of the oak tree. And you're chasing validation that'll never fill the hole. I shot back, hurt lancing deep. He stormed out, door slamming like gunshot, leaving me in echo chamber silence. Panic clawed as hours ticked by. No texts, no calls. I paced the fire escape, city lights blurring through tears, replaying every barb. Ben found me there at midnight, concern etching his face. Go find him, Cal. Triplet stick, remember? I did subway to his old haunt, a Williamsburg bar where indie types nursed dreams and drafts. He was there, hunched over whiskey, curls disheveled. I'm scared, he admitted when I slid beside him, of losing us to this machine. I took his hand, raw. Then we rewrite together. No arcs without heart. We rebuilt from there, fiercer. His film shot with our pact. Authenticity or bust. Producers balked, but backers emerged, queer funds, ally investors. My show opened to lines around the block, critics hailing a triumphant reclamation. Alex flew in, Emma on his hip, her curls a halo. Ben manned the merch table, selling prints like a pro. Nathaniel's dedication. For the family, we choose. Summer solstice, we wed on that rooftop, city sprawl witness. Ben officiating with vows cribbed from scripts. Rings exchanged simple, silver bands etched with intertwined initials. Alex toasted with sparkling cider, Emma clapping chubby hands. As dusk fell, Nathaniel pulled me close, breath warm. This is the strength, Cal. Us enduring. The reception spilled into the street, neighbors joining with coolers of beer and boomboxes blasting Motown, turning our stoop into a block party miracle. Emma toddled between legs, a flower crown askew, while Ben arm wrestled a drag queen who'd crashed the vibe. Alex, loosened by the crowd's energy, cornered me by the hydrant, voice low over the bass thump. Seeing you like this, it's what Dad could have celebrated if he'd let go. His eyes glistened, booze or breakthrough, hard to tell. But the hug he pulled me into lingered, a seal on mending fractures. Honeymoon was a road trip upstate, Nathaniel's old Volvo groaning under picnic baskets and easels. We camped by Finger Lakes, sketching sunsets that bled pink into blue, his camera capturing candid frames. Me knee-deep in water, laughing as fish nipped toes. Nights in sleeping bags, stars wheeling overhead, we traded stories. Not the polished ones, but raw drafts. His coming out at 16, disowned for a week till his mom reclaimed him. My first crush's ghost, Tommy Hargrove, who I'd glimpsed on Facebook, married with kids in Cali. We survived the scripts we didn't write, he murmured, fingers tracing constellations on my skin. Back in the city, momentum built like a gathering storm. Nathaniel's Echoes premiered at Outfest, the theater electric with cheers at that uncompromised kiss. Two men claiming space under LA palms. Reviews poured in. Variety called it a queer odyssey of unflinching grace. The Advocate dubbed us the power couple redefining family on film. Offers followed, his for a Netflix limited, mine for a children's book series on chosen kin, illustrated with diverse faces that mirrored our mosaic. But success's shadow is isolation. Tours pulled us apart. Him to panels in Toronto, me to signings in Chicago. Calls grew clipped, exhaustion fraying threads. Ben, now settled in his own Astoria walk-up, sensed it during a brother's night at a Knicks game. Hot dogs and heckles, the garden roaring like old times. Don't let the grind echo Dad's absences, he warned over beers, his engineer's precision cutting through my deflections. Alex echoed from afar, weekly check-ins laced with Emma's updates. First steps, first words, Unca Cal. The betrayal this time wasn't blood. It was ambition's sly knife. October brought Nathaniel a dream gig, directing a blockbuster biopic, A-list star attached, location scout in Vancouver. 6 months, tops, he promised over FaceTime. Skyline behind him a Canadian blur. Then we're golden. I nodded, forcing cheer, but the apartment echoed empty without his clutter. Scripts on the fridge, coffee rings on the table. Freelance-filled days, storyboards for a Hulu doc on queer history, but nights stretched, sketches turning melancholic. Empty fire escapes, solitary figures against vast horizons. Doubt festered. A gallery in Soho pitched a collab. My art synced to a straight director's rom-com, broad appeal. Pay was obscene, exposure viral. It's just work, I told myself, signing on. But each session sanded my edges, softening lines, muting colors to resonate wider. Nathaniel noticed on his break home, scrolling my mood board. This isn't you, Cal. Safe. Hurt sparked. Safe pays the mortgage while you're off conquering Hollywood North. Words escalated, old insecurities flaring. His fear of selling out, my ghost of rejection. He left for the airport at dawn, apology text unread. Alone, the city turned indifferent. Subways anonymous, streets swallowing footsteps. Ben dragged me to therapy, a queer center in Chelsea where the counselor's office smelled of sage and acceptance. Betrayal's a cycle, she said, voice calm as chamomile. Break it by naming yours. I did, journaling feverishly. Dad's conditional love, brother's complicity, now this self-sabotage. Alex called mid-spiral, Emma's babble in background. Fight for it like you taught me. Blood or not, he's yours. Climax hit in December. Snow dusting Vancouver pines as Nathaniel's shoot wrapped early. Budget overruns, star tantrums. He flew back unannounced, landing on our stoop at midnight, duffel slung, face etched with miles. I buzzed him up, heart hammering, and there in the hallway, under the bare bulb, he dropped to one knee. Not proposal redux, but raw plea. I chased the lights, but they're hollow without you. Forgive my blind spots. Tears tracked his cheeks, and mine joined, the fight dissolving in embrace. We talked for days. Unplugged, phone silenced, holed up with takeout and truths. His biopic. He walked, citing creative misalignment. Blacklisting be damned. My collab? I quit mid-promo, emailing the gallery. Art bends for no one. Backlash stung. Whispers of difficult. Gigs drying up, but freedom tasted sharper, like winter air after thaw. Spring 2023 bloomed renewal. We co-launched a podcast, Chosen Frames, blending my visuals with his narratives on queer resilience, guests from activists to exiles. Episodes trended, sponsors flocked. Ethical brands, not corporate traps. Ben guested on Triplet Ties, his story of reinvention drawing fan mail from Heartland listeners. Alex brought Emma for her debut. Her crayon scribbles digitized into our logo, a lopsided heart with 3 loops. Yet life tests the mended. June brought Mom's letter. First contact since the ashes, postmarked Wichita, script shaky. I've been praying. Saw your film at the library. Miss my boys. Enclosed. A photo, yellowed, of us triplets in the tub, bubbles hiding grins. Nathaniel read it aloud, voice gentle. Your move, love. I wrote back, not absolution but invitation. Come see for yourself. Brooklyn's big enough for ghosts. She arrived in July, tentative in floral print, luggage light. We met at the apartment, Ben cooking ribs on the tiny grill, Alex video calling with Emma's waves. Mom's eyes widened at the pride flag on the fridge, the wedding band on Nathaniel's finger. Dinner was awkward symphony. Small talk over slaw, her questions probing like old habits. How do you live with it? She asked finally, fork paused. I met her gaze steady. With love, Mom. The kind that chooses. Tears came then, hers first, then ours. A dam breaking after decades. She stayed a week, touring galleries, cooing over Ben's blueprints, even joining a pride walk where rainbows drowned her reservations. Departure was hugs, not goodbyes. Promises of visits, Thanksgivings shared. Fall deepened bonds. Nathaniel's indie fractured lines, our story veiled, screened at TIFF, standing ovation sealing deals for distribution. My book deal expanded. Triptych tales, volumes on sibling redemption, romantic anchors. We bought a co-op in Crown Heights, garden plot, extra room for Emma's visits, roots sinking voluntary. But humanism's heart is impermanence. Winter tested again. Ben's diagnosis, testicular cancer, caught early, but the word echoed Dad's shadow. We rallied. Alex flying in, Mom too, her prayers now laced with acceptance. Chemo suites became war rooms, laughter defiant amid nausea. Nathaniel filmed snippets, not exploitation but testament. Ben's quips, my sketches bedside. Remission came spring. Party on the new stoop with cake and confetti. Toasts to the unbreakable three. Through it, Nathaniel and I grew, therapy joint now, unpacking baggage in tandem. You're my plot armor, he joked once, post-session, over gelato in Prospect Park. I laughed, lacing fingers. And you're the twist that saves the day. By summer's end, family fractal. Alex's second wedding, small and secular, Emma flower girl in sneakers. Mom danced with Ben to old hymns repurposed funky. Nathaniel and I slow danced last, city lights winking approval. Strength showed not in perfection, but persistence, the daily choice to weave what's torn. We'd faced rejection's gale, betrayal's bite. Yet here, in laughter's chorus, Real family emerged. Chosen, cherished, unchained. The co-op's garden thrived that year. Tomatoes plump as secrets, basil scenting the air like forgiveness. Mornings, I'd weed with Nathaniel, his hands dirt-streaked beside mine, plotting our next project. A graphic novel adaptation of fractured lines, panels pulsing with emotion's raw edge. Ben contributed schematics for set builds, his recovery fueling a pivot to sustainable design, blueprints for eco-homes that housed the displaced. Alex, steadier now, launched a podcast of his own, Faith Rebuilt, interviewing exiles from rigid creeds, Sarah co-hosting with Grace Earned Hard. Mom's visits became ritual. Trains from Wichita, suitcases heavier with pies and progress. She'd critique my drafts over tea. Too much shadow, Calvin. Let in the light. Her Baptist eye softening to artist's wisdom. One afternoon, as we strolled the Brooklyn Botanic, she linked arms with Nathaniel, tentative then true. You saved my boy, she said, voice thick. He smiled, humble. We saved each other, ma'am. Emma's arrivals were chaos joy. Park picnics, her demands for Unca Nat stories. Toddling pursuits that left us breathless and blessed. Yet drama lurks in idols. Fall 2024 brought the call. Alex, voice shattering calm. Sarah's leaving. Says I'm still poisoned by the past. Details spilled. Arguments reignited by his slips into old judgments. Therapy abandoned for work's grind. Emma caught in crossfire. Custody looming like storm clouds. He drove east unbidden, arriving at dusk with duffel and defeat, crashing on our guest bed. Now Emma's playroom. Toys scattered like shrapnel. Nights became council. The four of us, triplets plus Nathaniel, around the kitchen island, coffee brewing bitter resolve. Alex unpacked the wreckage. How Dad's legacy lingered in microaggressions. How Sarah's patience frayed under unspoken fears. "I want to be better," he vowed, eyes on me. The one he'd pushed furthest, pulled closest. Ben shared his own marital jitters, preemptive therapy with his partner a buffer against inheritance. I listened, then spoke. "Better's action, not amends. Start with Emma. Show her love without conditions." Nathaniel mediated, his director's eye framing the scene. "This is your arc, Alex. Rewrite the ending." We scripted a plan, him bunking with us, co-parenting weekends, counseling intensive. Sarah agreed to mediated talks, her hurt a mirror to mine, but hope's thread held. Climax crested Thanksgiving, traditional redux with twists. Mom hosting in our garden, leaves gold under string lights, Emma's high chair centerpiece. Tensions simmered. Alex's nerves jangling, Sarah's arrival fashionably late, eyes wary. Dinner flowed civil. Turkey carved collaborative, toast skirting edges. Then, post-pie, in the firepit's glow, it erupted, Sarah accusing Alex of half-measures. Him retorting with "I'm trying." Voices rose, Emma fussing in Ben's lap. I stood, heart pounding, channeling years of swallowed fire. "Enough," I said, voice cutting smoke. "This isn't about winning. It's about her." Gesturing to Emma, wide-eyed. We triplets learned the hard way. Blood binds, but hate breaks. Dad's ghost? Bury it here. Silence fell, heavy as ash. Alex deflated, reaching for Sarah's hand. Repelled, then relented. "I'm sorry. For all of it." Tears mingled with embers, and in that vulnerability bridgeheads formed. Shared custody trial, joint therapy, a pact to parent without prejudice. Mom broke the hush, her voice steady him. "Family's the prodigal's welcome, not the fatted calf alone." Nathaniel squeezed my knee under the table, pride in his gaze. The night turned tender. Stories swapped, Emma asleep on Alex's chest, stars pricking the canopy like approval. Winter wove tighter. Alex's custody stabilized, Sarah thawing over holiday exchanges. Ben's designs won grants, his wedding to his engineer bow a spring affair weed plan. Nathaniel and I greenlit the graphic novel, pages flowing collaborative. My inks, his dialogue, a tale of triplets torn and tethered anew. But humanism whispers loss amid gain. Spring 2025, Mom's cough turned chronic lung cancer. Irony's cruel jest, stage 3. We flew her east, treatments at Sloan Kettering, our co-op her nest. Days blurred in infusions and scans, her spirit unbowed. Crocheting blankets for the ward, quizzing Nathaniel on scripts. "Make me the wise crone," she teased, frailty belying fire. Her decline accelerated summer, bones fragile as rice paper. We gathered, triplets bedside, Nathaniel filming her tales for Emma's posterity, Sarah bringing drawings from the girl. Last words whispered to me. "You showed me grace, Calvin. Blood's just the start." She slipped at dawn, July 4th, fireworks distant echo to her quiet exit. Funeral was ours. Backyard gathering, no church, eulogies laced laughter and loss. Alex spoke of her pies, Ben of her garden tips. I read a sketch, her face, lined with love's map. Nathaniel closed. "She chose us back. Ashes to the oak via proxy, Ben scattering with Wichita soil." Grief's wake clarified. We launched a foundation. Hayes Triad, scholarships for queer youth from conservative homes, art and film grants blending our trades. Emma's first day school. Alex walking her hand in hand with Sarah, co-parenting's bloom. Ben's wedding under that same oak. Nathaniel best man. Me groomsman, vows echoing our own. By fall, Nathaniel and I eyed expansion. Adoption whispers, a child to fold into our fold. The city pulsed partner, challenges perennial but surmountable. Gigs fluctuating, health scares minor, family feuds footnotes. In the end, strength's testament isn't endurance alone, but the humanity to hold, rejections redeemed, betrayals to bridges, love the unyielding frame. As triplets, we faced the fracture. As chosen, we forged the whole. And in Nathaniel's arms, under Brooklyn's ceaseless hum, I knew Real family isn't perfection's portrait, but the messy masterpiece we paint, stroke by stubborn stroke.